Ladies and gentlemen, today we have our third and final Aklak challenge video that exists out there on the internet. Links to the others in the description, but these were of course all set by Aklak a few years ago now. A few years ago he did these, but I wanted to put them all up in one place on this channel because I do think they really are quite very impressive achievements that represent quite a lot of time and effort to do. And as a result of that, I think they make for quite entertaining viewing. So back to normal gameplay after this. This is the last one. Enjoy.
The first thing Aklak does is lay down a farm with his discovery travois. He then uses his war chief to kill a small monkey guarding a Mongol scout, and then sends 2 settlers over to his opponent's base. With this settler here, he goes over to collect 2 cows, which he can see are there, and tasks them to his farm. He sends the settler back to the coin mine to begin collecting more coin for the selective breeding upgrade, which he wants ASAP. Right here we see him using the nature friendship ability to convert a masterless samurai, which is in itself a very strong unit, which he can use to help collect other treasures with, and at the same time, it removes that particular guardian from the very large treasure. It's worth 300 experience points. As you can see here, he's found quite a few cows with that Mongol scout, and his settlers have almost arrived in his opponent's base. Over here he uses the war chief and the masterless samurai to kill a lion, which is guarding a 50 wood treasure. Meanwhile, in his opponent's base, the expert Russian bot has left 2 wood crates out of his starting resources on the floor. Aklak's going to collect these up, bringing him to a fairly high wood total, all things considered. Currently though, he's found 10 yaks, and bear in mind that is the maximum amount of yaks which can be tasked to a single farm, and he's now collecting a 30 coin treasure with his settler all the way over in his opponent's base, bringing him up to the 150 coin and wood total required to research the selective breeding upgrade, which he is now doing. He's now only a couple of units of wood off the amount needed to construct another farm, which is exactly what he's going to do. There's clearly more than 10 yaks available on this map, so a second farm and the selective breeding upgrade this early on will be really useful for fattening these yaks up quickly. Over here, we see Aklak's war chief and the samurai he converted earlier about to start creeping an 80 XP treasure guarded by 3 leopards. His first shipment has just become available, and he's now sending the fulling mills, which will increase the rate at which his settlers can gather food from livestock by 300%. Notice how he hasn't built a trading post like a lot of the other players did in their games. Aklak clearly prefers to invest wood into fattening livestock rather than generating XP, but he will need some additional XP from somewhere in order to get all of the shipments he'll need to set his time. And that's where the 80 XP treasure he's creeping now, and that massive 300 XP treasure where he got the samurai from, will come into play. Aklak hasn't even sent a 3 settler shipment. He has one last villager in queue before he reaches his population limit, and by the looks of things, intends to do this challenge with just 10 gatherers. We're now looking at the 300 XP treasure again, and clearly his war chief's nature friendship ability has recharged, and he's grabbed himself another masterless samurai to help him gather treasures with. This leaves 2 cavalry archers guarding the 300 XP treasure, and he has also just clicked up to the colonial age through the shaman, who will grant him 2 travois upon hitting up to the next age. Meanwhile, back in his opponent's base again, we see his 2 settlers stationed outside the town centre awaiting the Russian bot's next shipment to arrive. The war chief and his rabble of dudes are headed towards the 90 wood treasure guarded by 2 lions. Aklak's second shipment is now on the way. It is ranching, and it will enable him to train cows at his farms. Clearly, he intends to invest food into training more livestock to then fatten at his 2 existing farms. At first I found it strange that Fulling Mills was his first home city shipment, but after looking back at the recorded game, it's worth noting that as soon as it arrives, he collects up 2 of his yaks to help quickly get the food available to get the colonial age in queue more quickly. In total, he found 18 yaks, but ate 2 of them in the discovery age. This brings him down to 16, and once all of them are fully fattened, will yield a maximum food potential of 6,400 food. Anyway, the 2 settlers in his opponent's base have finished stealing wood from their Russian enemy and are now returning home to help the rest of his settlers, which are now all apparently collecting up these yaks, which have definitely not fully fattened. Here we see the war chief joining his rabble of dudes as they work away at the 300 XP treasure. Those yaks, though, I guess they've fattened enough to be worthwhile. I mean, he found them all for free, right? He still actually generated a very large sum of food from them, which he has just sold at the market he built earlier for the sum of 1,000 coin. That's pretty clever. That's all the coin he's going to need to put the Fortress Age in queue. Well, he didn't sell all of the food. In fact, he still has a fairly large amount of yak meat to collect up. He just sold enough to pay for the Fortress Age. It's interesting because one of the first things we learn as Age of Empires players is that the market is really inefficient. But in this game, it's actually the opposite. It's actually really efficient because his settlers are able to gather food at a rate of 8 food per second from the livestock, but only 0.6 coin per second from a coin mine. Either way, he's also been reinvesting a lot of the food as well into training cows, as you may have noticed. These new cows, though, he is not collecting up at the moment because they need to fatten up a bit more before it's actually profitable to do so. This is some pretty interesting stuff here. Yes, he could have left the yaks to fully fatten, but by collecting them up prematurely, he's actually able to minimize his town center's idle time, since he then had the resources to queue up the Fortress Age. Aklak's third home city shipment has just arrived. It was the 600 coin shipment, and honestly, he needs every drop of coin he can get, don't we all, to click up through the ages. I mean, he has food in abundance, but just no fast way to gather coin. Anyway, Aklak has also built a trading post, but not one on the trade route as you might expect, but instead on a Sufi mosque. He intends to ally himself with the Sufi in order to research the pilgrimage upgrade which they have, which grants you 1 fully fattened goat for each 2 minutes of the game which has passed, and a fully fattened goat has 300 food in it, which he can gather up at 8 food per second with all of the upgrades he's stacked. The upgrade itself costs 150 coin and wood to send. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Anyway, here we see the war chief and his rabble slaughtering 3 tigers for 150 precious units of coin. But despite that treasure and the shipment earlier, it's still not quite enough coin for the age up. He needs 450 more, and it looks like he's going to have to sell yet even more cow meat at that market. And that is what he does, ladies and gentlemen, queuing the Industrial Age literally as he hits up to the Fortress Age. I don't think that there is anything else left for me to say. You guys know the rest.
Thank you very much for watching. Do leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all again next time.